Hello again. This is Marques McCammon, President and Chief Executive at Karma Automotive, and this is another episode of the Karma Perspective. Today, I have the pleasure of being joined by our Head of Creative and Design, Mr. Nicholas David. Now, for you guys who don't know, Nicholas is a very, very accomplished designer. I've had the opportunity to work with him for almost 4 years now since I've been here with the company. But Nick, why don't you tell the team a little bit more about who you are? Because I don't think everyone understands that you're not only a designer, but you're also an engineer as well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, thank you, Marcus. Yeah, I was trained as an engineer first of all, and then studied vehicle design in London, the Royal College. Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to work with quite a few different design studios in the UK, in Europe, from China, and not obviously here with us. So yeah, it's been I've been fortunate to do a lot of beautiful vehicles, some sports cars, some supercars, some SUVs, and everything over the time. So it's been great, and I think, you know, you and I hit it off when you got here.
Yes,
and we definitely had the same vision of what we wanted to achieve here.
Yes.
So it's been great, and so yeah, I'm very grateful.
You're also an avid surfer, almost pro at one point, or were you pro?
Not pro, but I used to compete for representing my country in the UK and everything. So I got a chance to travel around and see some very beautiful places and being in some very far off places. So yeah, that was part of moving to California. It was like, where can I do car design and surf? It was like Coventry, Detroit, Italy, or California. I was like, right, California's there, but now I'm too busy to kind of surf too much. So
well,
yeah,
hopefully it's good busy, right?
Yeah, it is a good busy, yeah, for sure.
You know, it's funny, we often talk about the pace at which we're moving and the fact that neither one of us ever turns off, right? We're always thinking about the business and the products and how are we going to enter the market.
I know, because we literally just got back, right?
Yeah, we just got back from Monterey Car Week. Like,
we both met this morning, like, well, I got this idea for next year, this idea, and we were both like, I'm still trying to wake up.
Yeah,
or calm down.
Well, it's funny because as we were getting ready to come and do this video, we ran in and we started whiteboarding stuff, like, what are we going to do next?
Yeah, and the list you gave me, I was like, I think I need a couple of days to get ready for that, yeah.
So speaking of which, now that we're back from Monterey Car Week, so what really made an impression, made an impact on you when you got to the show?
Yeah, so much amazing stuff, right? We saw. It's hard to kind of decipher through it all. Still trying to wind down from it, but I think one vehicle that stands in my mind was probably the Bugatti.
Yeah.
I think just seeing, just the form, the volume, the proportion, and just the restraint.
Yes.
Almost. Like, it's hard to say that car is restrained, but in terms of the form usage, and I think just the master gestures, I think was definitely maybe not want to look away.
I think that the one thing that the Bugatti really did for me is an automobile is sculpture. It's romance. It's sex appeal. It's passion. It's a communicative element of art.
Yeah.
And out of all of the vehicles, you know, our stuff aside, because ours is always the best, but out of all the vehicles that I saw that was not Karma, I think that conveyed those senses the best.
Yeah, I think it was, you know, we look at other vehicles that you had there, like, you know, if we look at the Audi, for example, I think it was very well executed, and it's the path they're going down. But I kind of looked at it, and I kind of understood it quickly.
Yeah, Tron.
Yeah, and when I look back and then looking at, we just talked about the the Bugatti and a few other vehicles, I wanted to stay there and try to understand it more.
Yeah.
It kind of intrigued me. I wanted to learn more about it, where the other one maybe not so much. So it was interesting when you come across cars like that, you see, you know, very different paths, but one excites you maybe a little bit more than the other one.
I like the way you said, I understood it instantly. Because to me, I understood it instantly and I kept looking for more.
Yeah.
And then when I couldn't find more, I left. So,
yeah,
you know,
it's...
And in respect to them, for there was some brilliant work done there and brilliant execution, but what I was missing my heart flutter, right? I didn't get that. I got a intellectual understanding and connection. I got a narrative of power and performance, but my heart didn't flutter. It was like I didn't feel like I was falling in love.
Yeah, I know, and I think it's actually interesting that some brands are going that route to make us question what is a motive, right? And because you look at like the Lamborghini or the Temerari or the Revuelto SV that we saw, it has so much movement. It's going fast before you even looked at it.
Yes.
But when you get to the kind of Nuvolari and somewhat to the point, I didn't see the Jaguar totally finished, but they're quite static in some sense.
Yeah.
And maybe I need a moment to process that as well. But it's hard to see on a vehicle that is such a hypercar slash supercar.
Well, it's funny. So, obviously, the coup of the weekend was to see the Luce go for $40 million, right? And that's the extreme scenario of what we're talking about. Because when you look at that car, it doesn't speak sex appeal, right? It doesn't speak velocity when you're looking at it, right? And it's got a very stoic kind of presence. And we see that design language happening again and again across multiple manufacturers. I do believe that when Cybertruck was introduced, I think Cybertruck gave a extreme challenge to design language, and we went uber futuristic, and I do believe that has carried some threads throughout the entire design community. Is that where the impetus of this kind of form is coming from? Maybe this very much more geometric, but at the end of the day, I still want love.
I know, and you and I both walked up to it, and I think it's one of those products that you always want to love the things. You want to say, like, it's different what we're doing.
Yes.
But you want to go up to it and go, I was wrong.
Yes, exactly.
You want to see it in person and go, wow, this is better, but that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Not on the. I think we looked around it quite a while, right?
Yes.
And, you're trying to find. There was some obviously nice thought out detailed areas and everything.
Well detailed areas, exactly.
That volume and proportion struggle, and it's big.
It's very big.
They've done it. They make it look small with these massive wheels, but just.
What got me was as I walked around the car and I got to the front of it, it felt very, very upright, and it kind of. It thought of me I thought of a British taxi, right? It had that kind of.
You mean the Rolls Royce Cutlass?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
So, but now I will say when there was an F80 on the lawn.
Yeah.
And it was red and had this beautiful fades of carbon, exposed carbon in the candy red, and then kind of going to the black carbon. And I'm looking at these very upright surfaces along the body side. What I did find enjoyable was to see the surfacing and the gesture and the aerodynamics that was very transparent when you looked through the center of the car. Yeah. Even that hood scoop where you could look directly down and see the
grass.
It was insane. Yeah. So like you said, you walk away from it and you say, is there movement happening with design and the aesthetic now that we need to dive into and pay attention to? Maybe, but what I like is that when people saw Giacera, when they saw Cavea, when they saw Morris, the words I kept hearing people come back with, beautiful, sexy, love the lines. Like that to me that's the separation I'm looking for, right? It's like when I go down the freeway, or if I go to a car meet, I always feel like I'm stuck in sameness.
Yeah, I know.
And I think I want to get back to a place. So here was the interesting thing for me. When Pebble started, the first thing that I did is I took some of our guests and we went down out onto the lawn and we looked at the classics. And so they had a whole section of American closed cabin classics, and we're walking through it, and there's this Auburn there in like this aquamarine color. It was gorgeous. And like the fender form, it like starts at the nose of the car and it just looks like it sweeps through forever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's American luxury, right? And then there's a Duesenberg that I just absolutely fell in love with. But then as you moved out of the American section, you see classic Ferrari GTO. You see all these beautiful Jags. Like that is what I want to see come back, right? There's these taunt surfaces, these beautiful forms, and it's like, almost like you want the lights to go out so you can see the silhouette of the car.
I know.
Right? That feeling, that is what I keep feeling like I'm missing.
I know, because we looked around that F80, and I mean, it is such a striking thing. I mean, we saw it a couple of nights before, didn't we? I mean, we saw the green one. I mean, as an entity, it's got some draw.
It's phenomenal.
But I think one thing that we noticed, right, is some of the one-offs on the Ferrari lawn and we see it in actually other brands, is there seems to be a lot of graphics on surfaces starting to happen to kind of set up the proportions, which is usually quite a small little hatchback trait.
Yes.
You kind of do these kind of clever graphic breakups to give the car gesture, to give the car lightness,
and
or
movement.
chop the corners off.
Exactly.
It's actually interesting seeing that, like things on the Testarossa.
Yes.
Right? And it's quite graphic on surface. To kind of, but it's not graphics to actually help the form. I don't think sometimes.
Yes.
And that's why I think like the F80 is actually, it's almost like it was designed from the top, and it is kind of graphical in this way with the knacker duck shapes,
Yes.
and then cut out of the master form, as opposed to the form doing the movement, like some of the original Ferraris on the lawn that we were looking at.
Exactly.
That's interesting to me because when you got the volume and proportion working for you, it feels like you're adding what sometimes can be seen as a cheaper trait
Yes.
to add to an expensive form.
Yes.
And yeah, I think it's interesting to see it.
And yeah, because so one thing I did see, livery, right? Livery and paint detailing, like the fade that Bentley did, I thought was quite outstanding. Very,
Yeah.
very well executed, right? So much more in CMF, right? And in color and material. That trend I see, but like you said, but when you start to use that to mask, disguise, or maybe even define the form language of the car, it feels disingenuous.
Yeah, you know, we saw some really interesting fades, right? It's something that we've been doing for a couple of years now on the Invictus cars,
yeah.
right, where we're doing the carbon fade to the normal paint, and there's something that we'll see hopefully in a few months, something that we're kind of taking it a little bit more extreme.
A little bit further, exactly.
But yes, I think some of the fades are actually interesting. I think there was a Cadillac on the concept lawn that did the fade from silver to dark. They executed it pretty well. But I think we saw, was it Zinger on the lawn at Quail. I mean, some of those paints and the subtle livery under it, or the exposure of carbon, or the candies over certain parts of carbon, I think it was really well executed.
It was. I cannot think of a time I saw someone do brown.
Yeah.
Do a brown color over carbon. For one, it was just a unique thought, and then they executed it so well.
Yeah.
I just kept finding myself. I came back to that car 3 or 4 times, and I kept walking around. It's like, I mean, because the car, the Zinger is very technical. It's a very, very technical car, but they found a way to make it very romantic at the same time. So I thought that was really well done.
Yeah, the livery is definitely coming in as a thing.
Yes.
You know, I've got to say, like Aston have been kind of applying it in some areas for a little while. But it was interesting that you see some brands, like we saw the Aston, the Valhalla, and there were stickers, right? And it was a surprise for a price point. You think about it, because I think one thing that we did in the lawn on the Electron Gold car is that it's all under the clear coat. And I see some brands certainly do it under the clear coat, and it's flawless.
That's right.
And I think it shows such an amazing master painter craftsmanship, right, to control that line so perfectly, and then build a clear coat up into it. And I think that's something that we've been trying an awful lot, and it takes some time.
It takes time. But
so it's interesting to see how some brands just went with stickers.
Yes.
And some brands went genuinely, they thought about it when they were doing the form of the car.
I think you've got to be committed to it. I mean, and there's an expense that comes with the execution, but there's also an expense that comes with not, right? And I think if what you're really trying to give the client is a character that makes the car elevated to them, right, and becomes a part of their own persona, I think you got to take that extra step. So I tell you, this week was all about Giacera for us, right?
Yeah.
We showed all of the cars. We showed Cavea, we showed Giacera, we showed Amaris, but really it's about Giacera. And I think the vehicle that we executed on the lawn, I have kudos to you and the team, kudos to the team at the plant. It was fantastic to see Electrum Gold, our signature color, appear in full dress, and then with the livery bringing the red accents in, celebration of the 75th anniversary of Pebble. I thought it was the perfect way to introduce the world to what now becomes the anchor at the base of the Karma brand.
Yeah, and I think seeing that on the lawn, right, with the green in the background, but also all the other colors around it, really stood out.
Yes.
And I think that combination of that kind of Electrum Gold is very unique, right? A mix of a gold and a silver to it, and that satin finish on it. And as the light was changing through the day, it had different flavors, right? Because the sun hit it and it sparkled, and it kind of looked a bit more satin at different times. Yeah, I think this idea of the combinations of the red livery with it as well, I think of the Stellar Red we put on that one.
Yeah.
I think, and the combination of the carbon fiber, the glossy carbon fiber next to the satin. Yeah, I think that color looks striking when you see it driving around.
Well, what I love is the story, right? So I always look, I like the fact that everything that we've done is we've got a cinematic element. And when you start to understand that electrum is actually a compound that has a history that's rooted in America,
Yeah.
and then to see that kind of brought forth into this, a jewel-esque type of vehicle presence. And then the best thing for me was when I had guests come over and they asked me about the car, and I said, well, the hood is 2x2 tool carbon, the rear deck lid, the rockers, so on and so forth. You get this doubt in your face, and it's like, yeah. And then you pop the hood and they see it, and you're like, oh my goodness, right? And it kind of puts them on their heels. Like that discovery for me, to me, that's the part that makes the building the cars and designing the cars fun.
Yeah, I think it was interesting actually, the different events. We obviously went to very different events with very different clientele for different days.
Yes.
But talking to those little details like the new, the little, we are, fully designed, manufactured and assembled in California, right?
Yes.
I think that's a big thing. When you tell some people didn't know, they're like, no way, I didn't realize that. But then we have the subtle, the little American flag we've now etched in the B pillars and that. Those little kind of, but you'll only notice if you kind of really know it's there, those little Easter eggs.
Yes.
And then also talking people through things like the light speed wheel.
Yes.
Right? And actually showing them, they're like, oh, that's a nice wheel. And you get them to tut it down and go, if you like Star Wars.
Yeah.
And ask them to see the kind of warp drive kind of as the season starts to go away.
Exactly.
So it's really great to sort of see those moments of
Discovery.
features. Discovery around it.
I loved it because, like you mentioned, the flag and the B pillar. And as I'm walking around, I had one of our guests with us, and we walked around the car 3 times. It wasn't until the 3rd time when the sun caught the flag that he even saw it.
Yeah.
And to me, that makes the moment feel special. I imagine this time when the person takes delivery of the car, and they've had the car for 6 months, and they're going and detailing it not because they have to detail it themselves, but because they chose to, because it's their favorite. And then they discover something that they didn't know was there, right?
Yeah.
And then they go online and they talk about it. That is the moment. That stuff makes me excited.
Yeah, and I think, one thing I just remembered actually, I'm not sure if we actually talked to people about it, but on the Giussera on the lawn, we had that new rear wing on the back of the car and everything. Yes. And the amount of blades.
Yes. Was purposeful,
and we will maybe not tell about that right now.
Yeah.
We leave it so someone else to find it.
Well,
so
let somebody count them and see if they can put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah. So I thought that was great, but I got to say, with the Giussera, one thing was probably the most rewarding for me, doing the rally up there on the Wednesday morning, and we had obviously a number of Riveros,
yes,
and we had the new Giusseras going up as well. And driving behind it,
yes,
and then past it and coming back and seeing it approach you from behind on the different with the target lighting on the hood, but just seeing how striking it looks, seeing it going past you, coming up to you, I think that was really rewarding because we often see these static.
Yes,
right. We do the videos, the shoots and everything, but to see it coming past you, as a new vehicle, whoa, what is that?
Yep.
And I think that was really rewarding.
Spend all that time working on it, and then to actually see it in an environment. To see the realism of it, to see it moving that's really rewarding. But so you said something, and I'm going to jump on it. So you talked about the target lighting.
Yeah.
Right. So having the target lighting on our cars, we came up with that concept. We first debuted it in 2023 when we first showed the Cavea, and that is our signature. It's funny how our signature keeps showing up on other people's branded vehicles. It's like, oh, well, that's nice. I didn't know that we were designing cars for Acura. Did I say that out loud? But the target lighting, both in the front and the rear, it's fantastic flattery.
Yeah.
When you see that other people saw something that you created and they admire it so much that they start to emulate it. It's also like, yeah, come on, guys. It's like, are they picking on the little guy?
Well, for us, we're so far down the road, excuse the pun, but obviously the Giussera goes into production literally now,
yes,
the next couple of months, and it's all been regulatory tested and it's fees and everything. So much work has gone into making sure that you can have it even on the car and the work that goes behind it, because there's so much, it's a tricky thing to do.
It was the first time it's being done.
Yeah, so I think it is tricky to see that stuff. You're a bit like, come on.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think we're pushing that a lot on all the vehicles, and I think it was really good at the Santo Lucia event.
Yes.
The cars are parked in the daytime, and as the night was falling, the targets started showing up, and at the end of it, everything else is in the pitch black, and you got this beautiful, unique kind of target, and I think pulled everyone out then from the dinners and looking at it again. So I think the more we show it, the more hopefully people will realize that it's been something that is a really big identity for us.
Yes. I also saw people copying the comment line across the roof of the car. So again, I look at it this way. I'll have a conversation with them separately, but relative to our team, I want our team to look at that and be proud, because
Yeah.
it says that we've got this energy that is, we say strength in chaos. Like the automotive industry is in this state of chaos, and everyone's trying to figure out what's new and what's next. And our small team has created a sense of strength that's pushing through it, that people are paying attention to, and then to some degree they're copying. So I'm excited about it, at the end of the day. So I guess going back to the production launch. So the car that we showed on the lawn was an Electrum Gold. That is going to be factored into Series 1.
Yes.
And the world doesn't know what Series 1 is. So can you give me a little brief introduction to what Series 1 means?
Yeah, so I think, when you get the first production units of a vehicle, I think those are very special units, and sometimes people call them the launch editions or limited editions. Basically, you have like the first 50 cars off the production line. We've chosen to do what we call Series 1.
Yes.
And it's the first 25 units off the production line. And that spec of that vehicle will never be done the same again.
Thank you.
So we have unique livery on the outside of the vehicle that will be emulate the series numbers. As also then that stripe down the middle of the car is also taken into the interior of the car. So there's very unique center consoles and trimming that goes on, and also the custom plaques as well that will be unique to that car only, and that will never be repeated again. So we're excited to see it because it plays up the Electrum Gold
Yes.
a lot, and I think the team have done a great job of making that feel very unique and limited.
Excellent. Well, I like the fact that no one's seen it yet.
Yeah.
And now they have an opportunity to start exploring and trying to understand. I think you gave a good tease of it with the car that we did at Pebble.
Yeah.
But what's really important to me is that when we say something is special, special means special. So, a lot of times auto companies say, oh, we're going to do special, and you do a special edition, and then the next thing that they do is, oh, the special edition went really well, so they just keep replicating and making more and more and more.
Yeah.
That is absolutely not the philosophy here.
Yeah,
it will not happen.
And I think we got lots of good ideas for maybe future limited edition versions of it. But I think it was also quite fun. We were on the concept launch, and some people had come up and actually, because we launched the new configurator,
Yes.
right, on, was it Wednesday?
Yes.
It went live. So we had people coming up. It's like, no way, I looked online and here's the one I spec'd.
Yeah.
No way. So it's really good to see that the new configurator, which is great, it's so intuitive to use.
It is.
That you can pretty much do lots of different options. So it was great to see people showing us what they would have it as. They're like, I didn't think about that one actually.
Well, it was nice because people were actually configuring and trying to commission the cars that they want now.
Yeah.
And which I think is fantastic because now we can take them through the entire buyer experience. So, just before we went to Pebble, I had the opportunity to fly to Indianapolis and deliver an Invictus to Mr. Lascano. And it was brilliant. I mean, absolutely brilliant. It was a bit of a jog to my agenda and my calendar to get there. But to be there with him, he and I sat together in this little bakery, and while they were bringing the car around, and to see the look on his face when we rolled out, and he sees the car that he commissioned, that he came into the studio, consulted with the team, picked the materials, picked the color, picked the color breakup, decided how he wanted to have it monogrammed for himself and his wife, and see it the very first time. Oh my goodness. That was probably one of the highlights of the year for me, just to have that moment with him.
Yeah, I mean, when he came in, it was great. I mean, because he had a really good idea what he wanted.
Yes.
But also then he was also wanted to sort of see what the design team felt were the things that he didn't know about.
Yes.
So I think it was great that we had that session with him in the Powerwall room, and we showed him the physical materials, and we had the cars lined up outside so we could see some of the colors and everything. I think it was a great experience, and just seeing how happy he was at the end of it.
Oh my goodness.
I think it was great.
And I tell you, I can't put it into words. And it was he turned into an instant rock star when we delivered that car, because people just started swarming around him, talking about how beautiful the car was. There was this little, she had to be 11 or 12-year-old girl who she couldn't stop taking pictures. As he went for his first little drive, she stood on the corner and recorded it. She said, "That's one of the most beautiful cars I've ever seen." And he's just beaming from ear to ear.
Yeah.
It was the most wonderful experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think we got a couple more of those cars going right now as well.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Maybe name-wise, we won't sort of say who they're for, but they're going to be just as striking. So yeah, it's it's really good to see the different combinations that people are putting together as well.
Yeah, exactly. I like the fact that the cars have an identity that's tied to the person. We always say reflection of you.
Yeah.
And so now people are creating their own masterworks with us. And I think the thing that's special is we're defining what it means to be in the Karma circle at every level, right?
Yeah.
So everyone who owns a Karma is a part of the Karma circle. We want them to feel like they're part of our community. The core, those people who are buying into what's new and what's coming, and then the nexus, those who are with us on special commissions and who actually are the ones who get the first access to what comes next, to bring them in and have them build and share their own stories about what it means to walk with us. That's what I'm really excited about.
Yeah, no, I think we were lucky to have quite a few of those those members of the Nexus as well with us over the long weekend as well. So I think it was good for them to see the experience they have with the brand.
Yes.
When they be part of it, then they get the opportunity to join us, for dinners with you, and we were walking around the Quail with them and everything. So it's really good. They get to see not only behind the scenes, but literally what we're looking at when we're looking around as well. So I think that was good for them to see
Yes.
what the real experience is as well. So.
Yes. I had one of the Nexus members say, he said, my thing now is every time I come, I want to be with you because I want to hear what's in your brain. As you're walking around and you're looking at these cars, you're on the ground and you're looking at it, and I just want to know what's going through your mind.
You got to be careful to curb what we say at that point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, I tell you what, I think, we go to Monterey each year. We've got Las Vegas Concours coming
Yeah.
up. We have a series of events that we do, and for people to understand how we show up and why we show up, everything's purposeful. Like I had someone's come to me and say, hey, why aren't you displaying at the Quail this year? Well, because we showed you the Geocera when we were at the Quail last year. We told you that it was coming. Now is our time to focus on connecting them with the people who are going to buy them, and not necessarily making an announcement, but make no mistake, we'll be back. Okay, and having people to understand that connection and that purpose, like when we went to Exotics on Broadway.
Yeah.
Completely on the other side of the spectrum, right? I mean, hundreds of thousands of people running around in the street, and having that position so they could see the lineup of Karma and come to understand who we were. That was fantastic.
Yeah, they could see the stepping stone of what's coming, what's
Yes.
next, and what the next one is. I think it was great. I think to sort of see the reaction of those cars.
Yeah.
And you get reactions from very different people.
Yes, you do.
And I think it's great to sort of see the younger kids as well walk around the corner and they're just like, what is that? So it's fun to see that too.
I was just having a conversation with someone. Auto culture is a great equalizer. It doesn't matter where you come from, what your background is. If you have a passion for automobiles, you can find someone who is, you have the boomer and the Gen Z, and they come and they can look at the same thing and they can fall in love and talk in their own language and share thoughts back and forth. It becomes this place where everyone's on the same playing field. And we were walking around, and I had one of our guests with us. She doesn't know much about cars, admittedly, but she was really interested. And this gentleman walks by, and she points at a car, and he walks over and just starts telling her about what this car is. And clearly he was a car collector. He was older, but he stopped. He took a moment with her, told her about the car, smiled back and forth, shook hands. It was like they knew each other.
Yeah.
But it was just that moment around that car, around that experience. Like that to me is what this segment represents. That's what Monterey Car Week represents. That's what I want. I jokingly say I want to bring the awe back to automobiles, and I think that was the moment that we had this past weekend.
Yeah, as you said, it's a conversation starter, right? Some people start saying, "I don't know what is this." The other thing is just about like when you start talking about the details and the thought that goes into the vehicles. I think it's just really because you have a chance to tell a story.
Yes.
It's not like, should we say, some other brands who are more higher volume, and it's just that it's cookie cutter almost. But when you get to this point, it's like, what is this? Tell me about it. Why is this here? What is this about?
Exactly.
I think it really shows that there's a lot of thought goes into these vehicles.
Well, look, this was a great weekend. We've got a lot of great things coming. I appreciate the times when we get to sit down and chat and kind of talk about what's now and what's next. But thank you so much, sir, as always.
And you,
And thank you all for sitting with us for another episode of The Karma Perspective.